I felt like the gameplay reveal trailer for Paralives Early Access has been such a long time coming. There has been so much speculation about what direction are they actually going with this game, what's it gonna be like. I feel like it's very much expected in terms of the route that they've gone down, but I would like to go through it in a bit more detail and just see exactly what it really is about. Guys, I'm so excited, I really am. Obviously, this is all subject to change, the UI, everything, but there are still some things that we can at least make assumptions about in terms of what they're planning to do with the game or the direction that they're going down. The personality system, guys, what do you think about this? We've got physique, mind, creativity, and charisma. I think these are very interesting traits to put out separately, if you know what I mean, but I actually quite like the idea of it because they're not really like personality traits, if you know what I mean. I don't even know what it's called. Like, what would you call them? I guess more like quirks. And then obviously we've got the vibe, and I actually think it looks like you can only pick one vibe, so you can't be a grumpy person but also a serious person. This is something I don't understand totally because I feel like grumpy and serious are two things that come hand in hand. Overjoyed and energetic could go hand in hand, so I'm not sure exactly like how much these are going to impact your lives. Although sometimes I feel like simpler is better. A lot of people say like, oh, we want more depth, we want more complexity. Actually, I genuinely think there's just a lot of depth and complexity in keeping it very, very simple, because when you keep it simple, it makes it more obvious what your character's personality is. I think it's very hard to replicate a real life human as pixels, but I feel like if you just give them one, like the vibe as they're calling it, then it makes it a lot more apparent and it makes it a lot easier for your character to express themselves in that one specific way and make them stand out more. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like the less complex they are, the more satisfying it is to play with them. I don't feel like, this is an unpopular opinion, I don't feel like personalities need to be that deep in a life simulation game. I just feel like they need to be impactful. This is why I think this is quite a good idea, although there is one missing here and it's pissing me off. I feel like another good one, Paralives, if you're watching, is awkward. I told you guys before, I probably have Asperger's syndrome, and sometimes I say something thinking I'm being nice, but I'm actually being an asshole and I just don't realize it. So I would like a trait. Obviously you can't call it they can't just pull Asperger's in here. Maybe just like awkward. I feel like that would be such a good one. You let me know what you think. And then we've got the social perk. Good at being alone, good at making friends, good at taking care of others, good at romantic relationships, good with family, good at cooperation. I feel like, because at first I was like, do any of these conflict with the vibes or the main traits? And I don't feel like they do. I feel like you can choose any of these and you can also choose any social perk and it would be completely natural. Some of them don't make total sense to me. Like, okay, I can be good at making friends, but I can't be good at taking care of other people. I guess it doesn't mean like just because you choose one perk, that doesn't mean you're bad at everything else. But I think it'll be really interesting in terms of how they go about this. I think it will just be more like a skill-based thing. Like maybe if you're good at being alone, you gain skills faster when you're alone as opposed to other people and vice versa. But I think, again, I like the simplism because it makes me feel like I can just create a very specific character. Like I can make a character who's, I don't know, very playful and good at making friends, and I make a character that lives that kind of lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like simpler can be better. I really, really do. That's why I'm really excited. And then we've got talents. So we've got jack of all trades, music, fitness, food technology, visual arts, or good at nothing. So I'm assuming this simply refers to your skill gain. If you're talented at music, then you gain music skill faster. Again, I honestly love the idea of just having one, literally just one, because I just don't feel like it needs to reflect the complexities of real life. I like the idea of making a very simple character who is very, very good at music and they like to play the guitar and they're good at picking up any other instruments. Do you know what I mean? And they haven't actually gone over in the video lifestyles really. They check the box for vegetarian. See, I would like to have a character who has irritable bowel syndrome and shits himself all the time. just like me. But you can see we got sleeping habits, so I'm assuming you can change it to a night owl, or what's a morning version of a night owl, like early person. And then we've got cleaning habits. Are you messy or are you very clean? Again, I just feel like it's complex enough, but it's very simple. You guys let me know how you feel about that. But that's just how I feel like is best to go about a game like this, because I feel like the whole point of Paralives, why I like it, is that it's got a very simple, peaceful vibe. Also, a very small thing. Do you know what I love? That you don't have to click on a mailbox. You just click on this little icon and it shows you your mail. You also get unemployed benefits, which I think is, we don't have that in The Sims, do we? We definitely don't have an unemployed benefits, which I think is actually a really good idea. I think Life by You are also doing this. And we've got electricity consumption. They did say before that they were giving you the option to be able to have solar panels and things, which would be interesting. Now, finding a job, guys, is really confusing for me, but I'm really excited. So I really love the realism, firstly, that just as in real life, you've got to start off with a more crappy job and you work your way up. It seems you have the application points as well, describing whether or not you're qualified. And it also seems to have different ranks. I think it has a lot of cool storytelling opportunities. I don't know how you feel about that. Obviously, I feel like kids are probably, like kids and teens are probably not going to be in early access, or if they are, they'll be there in a very limited capacity. But I also think it would be cool with schools if, depending on what grades they get, it can change their application points and things. Do you know what I mean? Or how a parent raises a child can affect these things. That would be really, really cool for me. And this shows the application points, I guess, based on skills. One thing though, they did say before that jobs would be a rabbit hole, but it seems like this is literally a workplace. They haven't really showed her going to work. They've just showed her walking out the shop. So it's very difficult to know if you actually see her in the workplace or not. You just don't know. An interesting thing though, as well as talking about ranks and upgrades, blah, 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 we've got expertise and extras, which they haven't really gone over yet, but you can see with the upgrades, after you finish work, it seems like you can either upgrade your job rank, which gives you a small performance bonus, like a raise, or you can upgrade your customer service level, which I guess increases your eligibility to go up and be promoted, or you can listen to music whilst working and gain music knowledge. So it gives you like, which one would you rather? Would you rather skills, more money? Would you rather job rank? I think it's really cool that you actually get to choose. On the FAQ section of their website, they have said that active jobs will not be there, so you won't be able to follow them. But they have said it's not planned for the initial release, so maybe we'll get them in the future, who knows. They have said that Paralives is gonna have free expansion packs, which I'm gonna go over a little bit later because that is something that I am very skeptical about. But it is something, a potential for the future to have active careers. Even if it was just like very, very simple, I would still appreciate it. Again, looking at the skills as well, you can see that you have the guitar skill and the general music skill that she's raising at the same time. This is something I've always actually wanted in The Sims. I think it makes so much sense. We kind of have it like kids have a general creativity skill, and then as an adult, they can do creative things better. But if you play one instrument, then it's going to make it a lot easier to learn another instrument. It makes a lot of sense, and I like the system of having like a parent skill and then different sub skills. I think it's a really interesting one. I think it's good for storytelling as well. Now, another thing I really want to go over is the group interactions. Guys, the way you just, okay, I want to show the back, the way they just drag and drop over multiple Sims, and you can specifically dictate which Sims you want to speak together. I think that's such a good idea. Also, guys, I love that when you click talk, there's not a million interactions like The Sims. I mean, guys, tell me this is the right way. Like when you click on a Sim, you see these randomly generated things, and then you go into more, and then there's friendly, but it's not just, you can't just have a friendly chat. You've got to, okay, are we having friendly affection? Are we having friendly complaints? Friendly deep thoughts? Friendly gossiping? Friendly hobbies? Like, it's so confusing. It's just too much. I don't care. And I feel like most Simmers genuinely don't care about all these interactions. Like, tell me if I'm wrong, guys, but I just feel like most of us really just don't care about the differences between all these things. Like, it's just too much. I like the idea of just clicking chat and then you chat, and then it's not that deep and you can just have them chat. But the coolest thing is the together bar, which kind of looks like the Sims 2, Sims 3 happiness bar, that when you click on it, it gives you different, they're calling them together cards, where you can decide how you develop your relationship. So you can do a formal introduction because you're a serious person. You can compliment their guitar technique to be nice, or you can introduce yourself in town. And then that unlocks relationship labels. So complimenting the guitar technique seemed to increase friendliness, which made them bump up to acquaintances with each other. It says here it rather specifically takes an hour to fill up, and then after an hour of chatting, then you can choose how you want the conversation to go, whether you want to talk about music, ask about their career, share coffee recommendations, and then that's help you learn. See, this thing in The Sims 4, if you want to ask about careers, you have to ask each individual Sim separately, whereas here you can ask them both at once. I think that's really cool. They also show two Sims who were exercising together in the gym, and because they're exercising together, they're filling up the together meter. And then now they've done that, it actually comes up with some really interesting interactions. Starting from the right, we've got developing a secret crush, which I think is really cool. I think it's because in The Sims, you can't really develop crushes, can you? There's no such thing as a crush, whereas here you can actually develop not just a crush, a secret crush, or you can just play it cool and ask for trading tips, or you can do a risky flirt and there's only a 25% chance that it works. I think this is really, really interesting. I don't know how you feel about this, guys. I love the idea of developing a secret little crush on someone. I think it's really, really cute. And then another interesting one, there's so much of this social thing that like I didn't really think about before. Oh, look, it says mustache man. That's rather interesting. I must say Jason's quite a fitty as well, isn't he? He's quite lang. Like under Erica, for example, okay, it says friend, but it also says neighbor and guitar buddy. Does that mean you can have different friends who you can do different things with? Like I might have a friend who I enjoy going to the gym with, a gym buddy. I might have a friend who's a guitar buddy. I feel like that would make relationships really meaningful. I don't know if that impacts, for example, maybe skill gain is faster if you play guitar together, if you do those things. I think that's really interesting, but having like different friends for different purposes and like doing different things with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just think it's really exciting. I think it really helps you, as it says here, to create your own stories. I think it's really cool. Even under Carl here, look, it's a secret crush and acquaintance, but it also says a former classmate, which again, I think is really interesting. Now, they showed another scene where she invited him over and she was apparently impressing him. It says, I really want to impress Carl, so she's playing the guitar to try and impress him, which I think is really interesting. And then it says, be surprised by initiatives from Townie. So if you click on the social bar, it might come up with a supposed initiative. It seems very random what you're going to get each time, what I like. And it says, I work at the high school and we're looking for a music teacher. Would you like the job and follow your passion? And you can either say yes or no. My only thing is, guys, I really don't want it to be like The Sims 4. You know, in The Sims 4 where you have these pop-ups where random people offer you random opportunities, but it's all just totally randomly generated and it doesn't make sense. If he's actually working at the high school, like he actually is, and he's only asking specifically because she has a high music skill, that makes sense. Like, I only want these in the game if they actually make sense. If it's randomly generated like The Sims 4 and it doesn't make sense, I don't want it. But if it's like this where it seemed, obviously this is very scripted because it's a trailer, but if it is genuinely like this where it makes sense, and I'm all for it. I think it's such a cool idea. And now she doesn't work in the cafe anymore. She's a music teacher, which I just think is really interesting. And then of course they showed them getting a little bit more flirty with each other with these conversation cards, giving you the opportunity to change how the conversation goes. And it's cool because like you can attempt to first kiss, and that says 33%, which is quite low. But I reckon if you clicked on confess crush and you let it develop more slowly over time, then the chance of an attempted first kiss would increase. Or you can just play it risky and attempt it straight off. I couldn't play it risky because like I know it'd go awful for me. but it's gone well for her, luckily. I will say the trailer was very, very simple. It didn't really go over things in a massive amount of detail. It kind of just gave you a generic overview of the different kinds of things. But honestly, again, I just feel like it's very simple, and I feel like they don't need to overcomplicate it. I think if they overcomplicate it, it'll be too much. It'll probably be more and more glitchy. I just feel like too much is it. Well, it's too much. Do you know what I mean? I just like the idea of keeping it very, very simplified. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I just think it's such a good idea. I've said this before. If it's like too open, then it's really difficult, I think, to actually do what you want to do, tell a story that you want to tell, whatever. Whereas when you have more limitations, I feel like when you're in a box, it makes you even more creative than if you don't have a box, because having limitations pushes you to do certain things in certain ways. I think having too much openness can be a bad thing. So I do like the simplification, although in other ways it's not so simple, and I think it's a really interesting mix so far. According to the current development cycle as of February this year, they still seem to be developing the live mode core systems, finishing off the build mode and power maker mode, random things like animation, soundtrack, but they also say brainstorming and designing different aspects of the game. I guess that means it's very much still subject to change. They might add even more complexity as they go on. But in general, guys, I just feel like Paralives has a very strong identity. I think that's really important, that I just don't like the idea of having, you know, a generic life simulation game where you can generically simulate life. I like the idea of just having a game with a lot of personality, and I feel like it does. I've seen a lot of people say that Paralives, like based on this trailer, it gives off like a cross between The Sims 4 and The Sims Mobile. I honestly totally disagree. I think the Sims community are so ratty about graphics and things like that. I love the graphics. I don't think it looks like a mobile game. Just because the graphics are simple, that doesn't mean it's a mobile game. I personally feel like the graphics is really good. I really love the art style. The reason why I love it is because every single character looks totally different. A problem with The Sims in The Sims 1, 2, 3, and 4 is that all Sims look exactly the same as each other. In Paralives, they all seem to look very, very different. I like that the characters have a little bit more detail to them than the environment itself as well. Again, I think that's a really interesting thing. What I personally would love to see in terms of the art style is interactable objects which have actions associated with them being a little bit more detailed, but then the background decorative objects having a little bit less detail. I don't know how you feel about that. That's just how I personally think it should look. I think it would be better that way. But guys, like, just look at this. Tell me right now this is not a vibe, because it is a vibe. Now, we need to address this. Guys, I just don't see it working. Call me a pessimist. I feel like I don't know why they've said this. I feel like they shouldn't have said it. Paralives will never have paid DLCs is a very strong statement. In order for a video game to be successful in the long run, it needs to get a lot of sales. Now, there is a chance that Paralives may only appeal to a very small niche number of people, and if that's the case, they won't be making money from a lot of sales if they're only appealing to a smaller audience. And once you've bought the game, you've bought it. And if hype for the game goes down in terms of bringing in new players, they're gonna be in trouble. If, however, they have a smaller number of hardcore players who love the game, they will be more likely to purchase DLC and help keep the game running. This is why I'm very skeptical of the concept of only free expansion packs. I just don't see it working. I said in my previous video, how I think they need to go about it is they need to make gameplay expansion packs free, but every now and then give us a little, I don't know, clothing drop. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like, I don't know, like it doesn't have to be The Sims where you have to pay for seasons and you have to pay for vampires. Like I don't feel like they need to be doing that. But what I feel like would be good for them is if they release some paid for aesthetic only things, because I feel like that works very, very well in video games. I know a lot of modern video games which have aesthetic only DLCs which have absolutely no impact on gameplay. It's solely just if you want some more outfits. As far as I'm aware, the game is going to allow modding so that you can mod in custom outfits. So the option's always there to get custom things, but some people like official things. And I also think it would be a really great way to celebrate celebrate the modding community as well, if they actually paid off some modders to create an official pack that you could purchase with some custom clothing, I think people would really like that. If they came out with a Polish chav pack with loads of tracksuits and things like that, I would love that. I would purchase it. I think as long as the base game has everything, but they give you packs to give you a little bit more depth in a certain area if you want it, I personally feel like that would be a good idea. As long as it's not in a similar system to the way Maxis handles The Sims 4, where gameplay is literally locked behind a pack and you must buy the pack if you want even a slightest bit of interesting gameplay. If they just make it very, very, very optional, I think it would be a good idea, and it would help to keep their game a little bit more sustainable. I think saying it will never have paid DLCs is very risky. They can't be doing the Patreon thing forever, and I'm not against purchasing packs for a game that I like. Although there are games like, I don't know, Minecraft's got a bit cash grabby since it was bought off by Microsoft, but before then it was an extremely like billion-dollar successful game and it had no DLCs. I can literally think of so many video games which have no DLCs, which are completely fine and they're incredible games. So it could work out, who knows? I just think it's a bit risky and I'm a little bit skeptical of it, and I feel like they need to be a little bit more open and flexible to DLC. That's a controversial opinion, I know, but you guys let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one.